Hi, can you hear me now? Awesome. I logged in and then everything crashed, so I am back now. Welcome everyone to session 2 of Finding Freelance Clients. If you say hello and let us know who's here in the chat room, that would be great. So yesterday we talked about how to package your service, your skills into services that you can sell, and then how to price those. And today we're talking all about finding clients, how to find clients, how to pitch clients, how to close deals with clients. So this is a really fun topic. I see a few of you typing there. Hi, guys. Hey, everybody. So the first thing, so yesterday we focused on deciding what it is that you're going to sell. And one thing that you will learn is that so yesterday I talked about that there are two reasons that someone hires a freelancer. One, they need help with a very specific project, like they need someone to illustrate their book, they need someone to design their website. And the second reason people hire freelancers is because they need a very specialized type of expertise. And when you're selling that as a service, what you'll learn is that selling those those two types of people is very different. And when you're selling a very specific service, you typically have to charge a lower rate, but you could sell it much faster. Hi, sorry. I'm using Firefox, and for some reason, anytime I switch browsers away from this, it just crashes. But I'm back now. Can you guys hear me okay? Can everyone hear me? See me? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so if you go to thebeardeddesigner.com, this is my web designer, and his name is Gary Robinson, and I'm going to put the URL in there, but I don't want it to crash for whatever reason that it is. So if you go there, you will see that he is a web designer and he works with lots of different kinds of clients, and he has examples of his work there. And if you were to hire him for a project, it would probably be more of a long-term thing, like we work together ongoing, and he's going to spend a lot of time talking to those clients and figuring out what they need and building a custom package for them and selling that in. And so probably he's going to make a lot of money from each individual client. Now, if you go to Logo Glow, so it's LOGOGLO.com, that is also Gary's website. And this is where he sells affordable logo design. So if you Google affordable logo design, his website comes on the first page of Google, and he gets business every single day. Every single day, somebody buys a logo because they Google affordable logo design. They click on his website, and he has his pricing, his exactly what you get, how much it costs, what it is, and so people can buy right there on the spot. And so the way that he finds clients for those two businesses is completely different, and the way he builds those businesses is different. And the logo design business brings in constant money. It's something he can do really quick. It just, there's constantly work there. Whereas the studio design business, he might take on one new client every few months, but it's going to be a long-term project where you're going to make a higher dollar amount from it. And so you have to decide what type of clients you want to go after. And it's going to be both of like, what do you want? Who do you want to work with? And what type of work do you want to do? And then also, what are your financial needs? How much money do you need coming in the door? And a great example I thought of today is, as a freelancer, like if I wanted to find an ongoing freelance writing gig, I could go out and reach out to a bunch of potential clients, but it might take me a couple of weeks before I get somebody to hire me. But if I posted on Facebook and said, hey, does anyone need a new about page? I will write you a complete new professional bio for $75, and it'll be done by the end of today. And more than likely, someone's going to say, oh, I would hire you for that. Sure, I'll pay $75 for that. And you are going to be able to sell that faster, but it's going to be a lower priced item. If I was like, does anyone need a website designed? It only costs $2,000, and I posted that on Facebook, nobody would respond because that's not something they're going to buy quickly. And so when you're designing services to sell for your freelance business, you have to think about the price point and how you're going to find clients for it, and how you're actually going to create a system for selling those. So the first thing I'm going to walk you through is how to create a system for selling kind of specialized services. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to create a system for selling those lower dollar kind of quick services. And if you guys have any questions at any time, just type them in the chat room, and I'm happy to answer them. So the first one, when you're selling a specialized service. So when I started my freelance business, I didn't have a website set up already. I was starting from scratch. And so for the first probably 6 months, I didn't set up a website. I created a PowerPoint that had one slide that kind of introduced who I was and my experience. I had one slide that kind of outlined my services and my process, and then one slide with like testimonials and contact information and that kind of thing. And when I would talk to potential clients, that is what I would send them. And no one had a problem with that. So you don't have to spend 9 months kind of creating this freelance website and building all of that out before you go out and start finding clients. I actually recommend you go out and find people to hire you for the things that you know how to do, and then start building your website. Then start building a brand around what you're doing, so that you're not spending a lot of time working on things that aren't going to actually make you any money. So the first thing you do when you are trying to sell a specialized service is come up with a list of people who might hire you. So when you're brainstorming people, I always start by thinking first within my own network. So who do I know? So yesterday you came up with a list of services that you're going to offer. Who do I know within my network that would hire me for one of those things? And look through LinkedIn, look through people you're friends with on Facebook, look through people you've emailed with before. Think about people you see on a day-to-day basis, a weekly basis, and just literally make a huge list of everyone you can think of, and then think of people outside of your network. So if I know a writer that might be interested in hiring me to illustrate their book, I might think, are there any other writers that maybe I don't know personally, but who live in my area and might want to work together, or who are working on books in a similar niche and might want to work together? And so start making a list of those people. Think about who your dream clients are. So if you were to work with anybody, who would it be? And put those people on your list. Think about people in your local area, because they're the easiest to reach. Who in your local area might hire you for the services you have to offer? Look who's hired you before and find their their competitors and the people who are in the same industry as them. Look at the people that you admire that are doing similar work to you. Who has hired them and what kind of companies can you go after? And start just, I started with an Excel sheet and I just made a list of every company I could think of. And I do this a lot with people that I'm coaching as well. So someone I talked to recently they wanted to design their own furniture line. And so they wanted to do some like freelancing with furniture design companies. And so I literally was Googling like furniture design companies, furniture design in New York, furniture design in LA, and then making an Excel sheet with a list of all of the companies that I found through my research. So just open Excel, start Googling stuff, and just throw every company that might want to hire you or every person that you know that might want to hire you on that list. And this is going to become your kind of client prospect list. And then the next thing you do is find the contact information for the people at the companies that you want to work for. So some of them will be easy. You'll already know their names or their titles. So what you want to find is their name, their title, and then figure out their email address. And so one way, the tools I use typically are LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google. So what I would do if I wanted to work with a publisher, and typically I'm looking for a marketing person. So I would Google like Random House Marketing Director LinkedIn, and what will show up on Google are all of the LinkedIn profiles that that say marketing director and Random House. And then if I wanted to, I can go on LinkedIn and I can search for a specific company and see all of their employees and then filter it down by job title or by category or by where they live and find the names and the titles of the people at those companies. And so if you like dream of working with Land of Nod, you could look at Land of Nod on LinkedIn and then filter down the people so that you can find the contacts that you really want to work with. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? Because I know a lot of that can be kind of nuanced. What title would you look for if you're looking for someone at, say, Pottery Barn? This is a great question. Okay, so when you want to work with a big company, people are always scared to pitch big companies because it's like you're dreaming of working with Pottery Barn, and so it's like you want to put your best foot forward and you want to have this perfect relationship. And so so when you're at big companies, there are like 100 people who do the same job. So like and each company is structured differently. So like within Pottery Barn, there are people who deal specifically with home design and people who deal specifically with garden design. And there are people who work specifically on sourcing materials and other people who source artists. And yes, and there are hundreds of people that maybe would be the person who would hire you or maybe wouldn't be. And when you are working in these companies, oh, sorry. Can you guys still see me? Everything froze. Okay. Can you guys hear me still? Okay. So when you're working within those companies, you are going into an office every day. You have one specific job. You probably don't know everyone else in your company. You know maybe a couple of people that you work closely with. You don't necessarily know like any request that comes into the company who you should send it to. So if I get an email from an illustrator and I'm the wrong person and like I don't hire illustrators, that's not my job, I'm probably just going to delete it. And one mistake that illustrators and artists make a lot is they'll find like an art director at Pottery Barn and they'll email them once and they'll be like, oh, well, I never heard back. Pottery Barn must not want to work with me, when in fact it's like that might not have been the right person to email, or maybe they were not working on any projects that were a fit. And so what I do when there's a company that I really want to work with is I will look for all of the people I can find that have a relevant title. So if you're trying to do art, to sell artwork, So each company hires artists in a different way, and this is true of all freelance. Like every company works different, and you cannot know how the companies work. It's something that you just learn. So some companies like to license artwork. Some companies like to buy artwork outright. Some companies like to hire freelancers to create their artwork. And so depending on how a company sources their artwork, the person who's in charge of buying that artwork is always going to be different. And sometimes maybe they just buy from a manufacturer and they don't do any artwork in-house, and like, it's a total waste. And so you have to do a little research to kind of find out maybe how they're working with them, or see what you can find. But the best thing to do is look for anyone that has something in their title related to art director, licensing, I'm trying to think of just anything related to art or illustration or design. So if they're like a product designer, product development, anything with that title, just make a list. And probably if you search LinkedIn, you're going to find like 30 people who have art, like something art related or product development related, who work at Pottery Barn on LinkedIn, and email all of them. And they're never going to know that you emailed all of them. Like they're all going to get a separate email, and like maybe one of those people is the right person to talk to, and like, but your chances are so much better of actually getting in front of the right person and getting them to hire you, because you're more likely to reach them. Whereas if you pitch 5 people from there, who knows if they were the right people, or if they even know who the right people would be. And more than likely, somebody who you email is going to at least respond of like, hey, this isn't my job, but here's what I know about selling art in, or here's who I think you should talk to, or here's what I would recommend. And you'll get different responses from each person, and you can take those responses and start to kind of figure out, what your next step should be, because you might find like they don't accept submissions, or there's one person you need to talk to, and they only accept submissions on these dates. And so you'll learn from that outreach what they're looking for, and don't be afraid that they're going to like remember that you emailed them and they were the wrong person, and so they never hire you down the road. Like that's not how it works. Like they don't remember every email you get. Just keep trying. Yes, it's literally like knocking on doors. And I have been doing sales and pitching and stuff for so long that I'm just used to people saying no to me. And so like I could email 100 people, and if 10 email me back, I'm just elated, because that's just the reality, is like not everyone's going to email you back. Not everyone's even going to read your email. And so you have to put a lot out there to really get in front of people and be memorable. And my favorite like entrepreneur example is Colonel Sanders from KFC. He went to like 100 people, and he had this special way of cooking chicken that makes it really crispy, which is like really bad for you, I know. But he went to 100 people and tried to sell his idea, and they were all like, no, this is totally stupid. No, you're never going to make money from this. And then one guy was like, oh, I think we could take this and turn it into a really big chain, and then it became KFC. But it's like he could have quit after 10 people, but he just kept going because he knew that he had a good idea, and he just had to find the right person. And so if you know my art is a great fit for this company, find the right person there. And one time, an example of me personally doing this is I really wanted to work with Etsy in some way, because I was like, everything we do is very aligned with like what Etsy does. And so I wanted to work with them. And so I just emailed like 15 people at Etsy, and I was like, I run this site, and I really think we should work together. And one girl emailed me, and she was like, I'm the person to talk to. I know you emailed a few of my colleagues, and they sent your email on, and I wanted to work with you. And so because she saw that I was like hunting down the right person, she wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm not talking to this crazy person. She was like, she knew that I actually cared, and I wasn't just like sending her a vague email, and that I was searching for a specific kind of partnership. And so don't be afraid to do that and put yourself out there. Yes, and cold emails, it is very scary at first, but like people aren't mean. And if you even, I always put myself like, if I received this email, how would I respond? And like, either I'd write a nice response or I would just delete it and move on. And so that's typically how people handle them. Like when they're getting a cold email, they're not going to be mean. They're not going to be rude. And anything that they say back, it's like just take it and like use any feedback you can get. Just sit with it and say, like, what does this mean? How should I change my pitch? Who else should I reach out to? Like, take any feedback you get and apply it and figure out what can I be doing differently to get more clients, to get more sales. Jess, I had one person at Elf who wanted to license me to do paintings of women for advertisements, but they quit responding. I tried one other person who didn't know anything about it, but I keep trying others, and it was like 2 years ago. So also in companies, things change so fast, like, and it can be a million. So there are a million people involved in every decision. So I used to work at this big PR agency, and like just doing something simple, like sending out a tweet required like 5 levels of approval. And it was just, it's insanity. And that's just how big companies function. And so if you're talking to someone about a deal, what probably happened is one of many things. They lost their job, they moved to a new company, they decided not to pursue that idea, they decided to go into a different direction, they decided, to do a different product line. At this point, with 2 years passing by, I would say like probably like that person has a completely different job and like it's not worth going after that specific idea. But what I would do is approach them as if you've never approached them before. So pitch them again and just pitch them cold and, see if you can get another idea kind of moving forward, because a lot of times it's just like an idea dies and like it doesn't mean that they don't like your work or that they don't want to work with you. It just maybe that thing died and they don't know how to tell you, or things are just moving too fast. So I would say just go back. Yes, no one remembers. And it's almost sad. Sometimes I think like, because in our heads we think, oh, they're going to remember me. They might think poorly of me. How's my reputation going to be if they see this email and this email? Like we have all of these thoughts. And in reality, like other people give very minimal thought to us. Like when they get an email from us, they give us like 2 seconds to like decide if they're going to respond or not. If they see our post on social media, it's like a very passing thing. And so it feels like a really big scary thing to us, but like it is not that way to anyone else. And you have to bug people a lot in order to get their attention and to get them to even remember your name, remember what you've done, just because if they get a ton of emails, it's hard to remember everyone. And so just being persistent and following up is really important. So the next thing, okay, so then once you have a list of people that you might want to work with, then I would create my pitch, which I'm going to send you all a sample pitch, a sample email pitch. But basically, your email pitch should be very, very short, and it should answer 3 questions: who you are, what you want, and why they should care. So who you are, I'm a freelance illustrator, I'm a freelance artist, I'm a freelance writer, I'm a marketing consultant. Who it is you are, like they want just quick, like they want to know what it is you do. What do you want? So, you can say, I am really interested in children's illustration, and I know you work in this space, and I wanted to see if there would be a way for us to collaborate together, or I wanted to see if we could work together on this project, or I'm launching this thing and I wanted to see if we, could partner. So what is it you want from them, and then why they should care? And that is like, what is your credential? What is that? Why is it? Why do they want to work with you in that way? So if you're like, I know you're working on a book and I'm really interested in doing some illustrations for you. And I think I would be a great fit because I've spent 20 years illustrating children's books, or because I'm really passionate about doing character design. And I know that that's going to be really important to the success of your book. And I'm totally making this up, but the point is the what do you want is like what you're selling, what you want to work with them on. And then why they should care is like your pitch, like why they should hire you over someone else. So your email would be like, hey, I'm Cassie, I'm a freelance marketing consultant, and I would love to see if there would be a way for us to work together. I've spent 5 years doing online marketing campaigns for Fortune 500 companies, and I think I could take what I've learned and apply it to your business in a really meaningful way. Let me know if this is something you'd be interested in, and I'll send over more details. So that is literally my pitch. Like, it's very simple. Here's who I am. Here's what I want. Here's why I think you'll want to work with me. Tell me if you're interested and I'll send you more information. And literally all they have to respond with is, oh, I'd love to hear more, or sure. So when you're sending that initial pitch, you don't want to leave it open-ended of like, do you have any ideas on how we could work together? Or do you want to look at my portfolio? You want to keep control of the conversation. And so you want to just say, tell me if you're interested and I'll send you more information. And then if they show interest, then you can follow up with your portfolio, more information about who you are, and then you want to try and schedule a phone call. So if someone's like, hey, this sounds interesting, I'd love to hear more, you can say, hey, here's my resume, or here's my portfolio, or you can look over my website here. I'd love to hop on the phone really quick and just learn more about the work you're doing and see how we can work together. And if they look at your resume and you look like a fit, they'll get on the phone with you. Or like if you look interesting at all, they'll get on the phone with you. So so then you'll start to see out of the people that you're pitching, who has responded to you with interest, who has responded to you with feedback that they're not interested, but they gave you a reason why, and who was interested enough to get on a phone call with you. And this is how you'll start to craft a system for finding clients, because you can say, okay, well, I know if I email 10 people that one of them will, or sorry, 10 people, 3 of them will email me back and 1 of them will get on the phone with me. And if I can get that one person to hire me for a $5,000 project, then I just need 1 client, every month or every quarter or whatever, your goal is. But you can start to actually create a system for how many people you need to reach out to and how many phone calls you need to have to actually get that client sold in. I'm going to pause there. Does anyone have any questions about that? Great. Oh, awesome. Yes. And licensing is the licensing, which I'm not going to get too much into. But we do have a licensing workshop actually happening next month that I would highly recommend. So you cannot, like, licensing is not a business that will bring money in the door right away. So like if you're like, I want to start earning $5,000 a month, like don't start licensing your artwork, because like you won't make any money for the first year while you're trying to drum up business. So freelancing can give you that money right now, but licensing is one of those things where you can build up lots of deals and it will make you money over the long term. So if you create a collection of work and you license it, you create a collection of work and then you pitch it to 100 different companies and 10 of them say yes, and one of those deals turns out to be really lucrative, like you could make $500,000 in 3 years. So, but it would take you 3 years to get there. So licensing is great for artists and illustrators as kind of a long-term plan of like, so you're building your freelance business, you kind of meet your income goals, but then you have some extra time. Maybe you pitch 10 people a night for licensing deals, or you make it a goal that you're going to email 10 people a month and just send your portfolio out or send a new collection out. And don't make it like, I need these licensing deals now to pay my bills, because you'll never be happy with licensing then, but more that it's something you build up over time. And once you get in the habit of pitching and closing those deals and you create a system for managing that, it becomes really easy to continually do that outreach. But you can't put too much hope into like every pitch. It has to be something that you're doing continually to continually bring new clients in. So the next thing, once you get them on a phone call with you, so once people respond that they're interested and they get on the phone with you, what you want to do then is ask questions and gather as much information as you can about that person. So if someone gives you 15 minutes on the phone, you want to try and figure out like, what's this person's role? What are they working on right now? What problems are they trying to solve that they might hire someone to solve for them? Where are they struggling? What solution, what problems do they have that I can solve? These are all of the things that you're trying to figure out on the phone call with them. So you don't want to use the phone call to talk about yourself. You don't want to pitch your work. You don't want to tell them, like, I never talk about pricing on phone calls. I never pitch them specific tactics that I would do. I never tell them specifically how I would work with them. I simply ask a lot of questions and try and learn as much as I possibly can about them so that I can go back and put together a really thoughtful proposal. So typically on the phone call, I will say, I'll give them like a quick, like 2 seconds, like, here's me and my background. I would love to hear more about your company, your role in your company, and what you're currently working on. And then listen to what they say and try and ask more questions. And you'll get better and better at this as time goes on, but you'll get a sense of what their goals are. And then what you can do is figure out, okay, what problem are they trying to solve that I can help them solve? And you can say, hey, I have a bunch of ideas on how I could help you with X, Y, and Z. I'm going to take all my ideas and put them in a proposal, and I'll send them over to you. And then if you can look it over, and if you think there's a way for us to work together, let me know and we can continue this conversation. So then you have time to take all of the information you've gathered and all of the ideas you have, put forward something really thoughtful, and then they have a chance to then take that and kind of decide whether to move forward or not. But it keeps the conversation moving where they have something specific to respond to. So in your proposal, do not take a lot of time creating proposals. You should come up with a template that you can use for every new client that you're pitching, and it should include a few things. One, the objective, and this should be the goal they're trying to reach. So maybe the objective is develop a cohesive brand for their business, or create illustrations for their book proposal, or develop a line of illustrations for puzzles, or whatever it is. Here's their objective. Then you're going to have overview, which is how you help solve their problem. So the objective is, here's what your problem is. The overview is like, here's how I'm going to help you solve it. And it should be like maybe like 2 to 3 lines, just summarizing how you can help them solve it. Then you should have 3 tiers of options for how they can hire you or work with you. So the middle one is going to be priced at like what they would probably want to spend on this project. So kind of estimate what they're likely to spend, and that is your middle option. The lower one is about 50% less. So if they want a smaller package, they can go with that. And then the higher one's about 50% more. So if they want to really work with you in a big way, that's the one they're going to choose. And so for each level, what you'll do is have 3 bullet points, 3 or 4 bullet points explaining what's included in that tier. So it might be, at this one, I will create your designs, to do 2 revisions, and send you the final mock-ups. But in this one, I will create an initial concepts for you to review, and then I'll create initial designs, and I'll do 4 layers or 4 rounds of revisions and any editing that you need. And and you can kind of add other things, and so they can see, okay, well, here's about what it's going to cost me to get this job done. There is an option if I have a lower budget, I could do something bigger. And so they can take that and really assess it, what they want to happen, and then they have something specific to respond to. So they can either say, yes, this looks great, or they could come back to you and say, hey, this looks really good, but I'm wondering, could we maybe take this piece off and lower the price a little bit? And then you start getting into the negotiating, and that's when kind of once somebody is responding to your proposal with interest or with questions, it's most likely going to close. And so then you can start negotiating the deal and closing the contracts, that kind of thing. Yes, and the levels are great because, and it's a great exercise for thinking about your business and how you can charge more for the things that you do. Because a lot of times we don't think about the specific things that are that we do within a project and like how we could make them bigger or smaller. So a good example is I had oh, here. So I would do these blogger outreach campaigns. And so a business would come to me and I would look at their product or whatever their campaign was, and then I would find bloggers who would be interested in what they were doing, and I would pitch them and I would secure coverage. And so in my proposal, it would be like draft a custom pitch for blogger outreach. Well, like, of course I have to write an email pitch for the bloggers. Like, I can't do the campaign if I didn't do that, but I included in there as I'm writing this custom email for you that I'm then going to distribute to this list of bloggers. I'm going to do one round of follow-up. I'm going to create a packet of assets to help them create their blog posts. I'm going to monitor all the coverage, collect it all, and give you a final report with everything in it. So break down the specific steps of your process so that you know like the different things you're doing and what you can charge for them, because the more clients understand what you're doing and what's involved in the process, the more value they see in the work that you're doing. If they're just like, oh, she's doing a pet portrait, great, here's the flat fee. If you're like, I could do a basic pet portrait for this price, or I could, add in all, some custom bows or I could do a custom background based on your family's interests, or I could make it a larger painting, or I could add a frame to it. Like, there are all of these things that you can do that may not even take you more time or may not cost you more money, but add more value to what it is you're selling. Awesome. Um, And then, okay, so then the second thing I wanted to talk about was systems for selling specific services. So the process we just went through is when you have skills that you want to be hired for and you're trying to find clients to hire you for those, but they're very customized projects. Now what we're talking about is if you have a specific thing that you can do that you want to sell over and over again to someone. So, I can do a logo design. I could do a pet portrait. I could do it's really hard to think of examples on the spot, but like a very specific, like I will manage all of your emails. I will write 10 tweets for you. I will write an about page for you. So when you're selling a specific offer, what you want to do is first come up with what that offer is. So what do they get? How quickly do they get it? How much does it cost? What's included? How do they buy it? Like, all of those details need to be spelled out clearly. And you can do it on a landing page. You could do a brochure. You could do a PDF. It doesn't matter, but you just need to have, here is your specific offer that you're selling. Then you take that offer and you get it in front of as many people as possible. So it might be you write a blog post, you make a flyer and you hand it out to local businesses, you email people, you do a podcast, you share it on social media. Any way that you can get that offer out into the world, you do, and a percentage of all of the people who see it will make a purchase. So it doesn't matter what I'm selling. If I was like, I am selling, like, let's say I'll write a press release for you. And I told 100 people that I could write a press release for them, and it would be a $20 flat fee, and they would have it by the end of the day. Somebody out of those 100 would need a press release and would hire me. And so you just have to get that specific offer in front of as many people as you can, and then see like what percentage of people who see that offer then hire you, and then you can create more and more systems for it. Gary, who I mentioned earlier, who runs LogoGlow, LOGOGLO.com, he does affordable logo design, and all of his sales come from people searching it and finding him on Google. And he had built this amazing system for finding clients because he never has to go out and look for them. He never has to email pitch them. He never has to like create new content. He just has to like keep his website on the front page of Google. And then one time Google changed their algorithm and his website wasn't on the front page of Google anymore, and his sales like crashed for a week. Like his income just stopped because his way of selling was broken. And so then he had to pay a bunch of money to an SEO consultant who then got him back on the front page. But that's an example of like he had built a really solid system for getting his offer in front of people and then getting them to buy it. And so once you have that special offer, then you have to find a system for getting it in front of people, and then you'll get a sense of how many people out of who see it will buy it. Okay, so that is my spiel on creating a system for finding clients. And as you go through those steps, you will learn specific things about your industry, about selling your skills, about what clients want from you, what people want to hire from you for, how long it takes to find a client and get them to hire you. And that all of those learnings will continue to influence your process, and it will evolve over time. And you will get better and better at finding clients. You will get better at guessing who is likely to hire you. You will get better at writing pitches, but it is just like exercising or writing or anything you have to practice. You just have to literally go out there and find people and pitch them and pitch them and pitch them, and you will just get better at it as time goes on. So I have about 10 more minutes here, so I'm going to take some time. If you guys have any questions about pitching people, about finding clients, about selling your services in, just type them here in the chat room and I'll answer them now. Oh, you're welcome, Jess. Excuse me. Okay, what is a good way to get your stuff to show up on Google's front page? So it's really hard to get your stuff to show up on Google's front page. And okay, and you should only focus on that if you have, excuse me, I'm out of water and my mouth's dry. So, okay, you should only try to get on Google's front page if you have some sort of SEO knowledge yourself, because it requires you understanding what keywords to use and how to use them and what things people are searching and where to put them on the site and how to tag them. And so you could spend a month learning everything you can about SEO, and then you could get yourself on Google's front page. It would be really easy. But if the idea of spending a month learning about SEO like makes you want to just cringe, don't focus on that as a marketing tactic. Excuse me one second. Okay, can everyone hear me now? I had to get some water, so I had to holler. Okay, so you have to find the way of marketing your work that is going to be most useful for you. So it could be emailing clients directly. It could be you could write, like if you started a blog and wrote blog posts every day and started building a following around your blog and then use that to find freelance clients, like that could be a really enjoyable way to market your work for someone. It may be social media. Maybe you love like finding people who might hire you on social media and then following them and engaging with them, building relationships, and then kind of pitching them that way. There are a million different ways that you can market your work. And so you have to find the way that makes the most sense for what you're selling, who you're selling to, and your specific skills. And so if you're not great at SEO, if you, and like SEO is specific because it's like it's a very technical kind of marketing. Like you have to sit there and like choose the right words and put them in the right place and think about how to say things in this specific way that people might be searching for them. And so if you are not like technical minded and you're more creative, like it tends to be like a less like it's hard, it's just not, it's less interesting to you. Whereas creating content and doing blogging and social media might be more interesting because if you're creative, you know, that is, you know, a more creative way of marketing. You're using your creativity. Okay, next question. Oh, I know a bit, but not in depth. Yes. Oh, so and that's, I know a little bit about SEO. So in our blog post, like in every blog post I write, like I like try and look up some keywords and I put them in there and I categorize it. And so I do the basic, like the bare minimum of what you should do for SEO. But I know that I have no interest in learning any more about it. But the more you learn about it and the more you apply to your site, the more you will see it paying off. And I just see that across the board. Any way that if you are spending time trying to find clients, you will find clients in that way, but you just have to take that time to do it and figure out what works best for you. So do you guys have any other questions before we wrap up? No, it's fine, Jess. Julia was the only one who asked questions yesterday. So I think every day we'll have like one question asker, and everyone else is really quiet. I think we have a lot of introverts in here. Do you have a recommendation if I were to do custom names? Um, like to like painting the names on the portraits? Oh, last names in water. Oh, that's fun. Um, if you do so, well, that's a great question. Okay, you could so here when you're coming up with something like that, you could charge anything for it that you wanted to, but it depends on who you're going to sell it to. So what I think of when I hear that you would watercolor names, I think that I would love to buy one of those for my kids. Like I think my daughter, like I don't have a daughter, but if I had a daughter, I think like I would buy one for my daughter. I might buy one for my kids' rooms. I think it would be really fun for kids. And so like in that case, I would say someone would spend maybe like $7 to $10 to do like a quick watercolor last name. Um, but if I were a blogger and I wanted my like and I could get my last name lettered and then like put it on my blog or like put it in my header or get something like that, I would maybe spend $100 on it. But it's going to be much harder to sell the second one than the first one. So I would figure out who yes, everyone, you will get a recording of this, of the video session, and then we will be here tomorrow at the same time too. But I would say figure out who you want to sell it to, and then you can kind of package it in different ways. So one thing you could do is you could say, you can pay $10 and I'll do a custom postcard with anyone's name on it. And then like you could have it mailed to someone. So for example, like if I could buy one for my niece and have you do her name and mail her the postcard and I pay you $10 and you do the name and drop it in the mail. And like that would be so easy to sell because it's only $10 and it takes you 5 minutes to like draw it on the postcard, drop it in the mail, and then the niece gets this present and it's a piece of art from you and it's from her aunt and like it was a great little gift that they could do really fast. So you have to think about who's the person that's going to buy this thing? how much are they willing to pay for it? And then like, how do I position it so they're like, yeah, I want that. And if it's like, oh, well, it's only $10 and it's going to make my niece really happy, sure, I'll pay for that. So think about who is in your network that you can reach to sell something like that to. You could also do like, you could do a few of the names and then send them to like bloggers or Instagram influencers, and then they might post it. And if someone else wanted their name, maybe they pay like $25 and you send them like a custom print. But I think it depends on like what the size of the paper is, how long it takes you, you know, that kind of thing. But you really have to narrow down like exactly what they're getting, exactly what the price is, you know, what it looks like, so that they can look at it and be like, yes, no, am I going to buy it? Because it is that quick of a decision, especially with something like that specific, like a product type thing. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining, and we will be back here tomorrow at the same time in the same place, and I will send around the recording tonight. So thanks again, and have a great afternoon.